Hey, how's it going, everyone? This is Coach JC. Everyone gather around should be a good one today. Today's topic is, what are my thoughts about stepfathers? Well, for starters, there's nothing wrong with being a stepfather. Stepfathers, they really get downgraded. Anytime you can be a man and be amongst a woman and her children, be that stepping stone, that role model, that guidance to herself and the kids, it's a blessing, it's an honor. The only time you'll see issues is that there's issues with the mom and the biological father, meaning they still talk to each other beyond just about the kids. If it's still something on or still something, some kind of spark they still have, and just kind of understand going into the situation is that the mom and the dad, they always gonna have that connection. You're just kind of coming there, do your best as far as like raise the kids. Be good to the mom, you know what I'm saying? You can't love the kids and not love the mom. You can't love the mom and not love the kids. It's an all package deal. Like I said, we know a whole lot of stuff out. Like I said, it's really good to see, more men definitely involved. And like I said, I was on a panel about my book, Fatherhood, the Only Hood a Man Should Claim. And I was just talking about, the question was like, well, you see a lot of men in the schools and stuff, and I was basically saying, you don't see a lot because a lot of times they just out of the loop. They're not really focused. They focus on the wrong thing. And to be with a man who's productive, about his kids, about helping them, engaging them, empowering them. That's really special. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of young men, especially young boys, they need that growing up. Like I said, only time they see men is like they playing sports, they're entertainer, they're a rapper, and they gotta be the image that they can't see. We gotta see more teachers, you gotta see more people working in social work, not just the high heavy jobs like construction work, mechanics. All that's fine and well too, but it's good to kind of see more men in teaching roles, more men doing more roles that you see more dominated by women. You know what I'm saying? You see men stepping up there. But like I said, there's nothing wrong with being a stepfather. Like I said, you need that guidance, you need that wisdom. Because the only time you may have contact with a male is maybe your uncle, maybe your coach at school. It might be a football, it might be a basketball coach. And more than likely, it might even be your world history teacher, you know what I'm saying? Other than that, you don't really have a whole lot of male influences, and you're looking outside of what a man is through entertainers, through artists, etc. So you have to be very cautious, be very aware of the people you bring around. But back from being a stepfather, things you gotta avoid is like, just understanding that, hey, you might not get the respect at first. It takes time. That's anything in life, once they see you loving on the mom, they see you loving on the kids, and you definitely want to have good communication with the child's father, like, hey, like I'm just here for the kids. I want to be a good role model. Like I said, there should be no fight, no beef. Any kind of beef, any kind of hostile situation, then yeah, I suggest entertain for your own safety point. You know what I'm saying? Let's just be real, be honest. I mean, a lot of times, a lot of men, they'll have a situation that the guy is either deceased or he might be locked up, or they really don't want to have no contact with the biological father. They kind of want to hone in on their kid, hone in on, not their kid, but hone in on the situation, on their spouse's kids. You know what I'm saying? Because they really don't want no interruption. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, you just gotta realize, just be present, just be actively involved, and just be yourself, Because like I said, it's not easy to take on another man's kids, and especially if you aspire to have kids and you never, just some reason you couldn't have kids, you know what I'm saying? Everybody can have kids. Like I said, it's a huge honor, it's a huge respect. A lot of men downgrade, still fathers and stuff, but hey, you know what I'm saying? Everybody needs that guidance. Everybody needs that person that's going to push them along, you know what I'm saying? And struggling to the right path, you know what I'm saying? Got a lot of these young men and young girls, they get lost to the street, gang violence, internet, and prison, juveniles. And you don't want that. You want them on a good path, so it takes both, you know what I'm saying? That male energy and stuff. Like I said, you show them love and compassion to those kids, and guess what? They'll love you for a lifetime. You know what I'm saying? You ain't just gonna look at you as no step parent. You're gonna look at you as father, and you know, because you're taking on the role and stuff. Even if the father is there, you know, unless more than likely he's not active, but you don't worry about that. You focus on what's more important is building a relationship, building a foundation with the kids, and just being the best you can for them. But yeah, though, that's all I really have to say.